All right, so we're going through 8.3 today. Again, like I said, we are just skipping 8.1 and 8.2. We're going to do that next class. And so today we cover 8.3. This section is as simple as the title states. It's based on simple interest, which is kind of a change in what we've been doing up to this point. Simple interest is denoted or calculated, that's probably a better way of saying it, using the formula capital I equals P times R times T, or PRT. What do each of these stand for? Well, I stands for interest, P stands for principal, PAL, R stands for interest rate, which is going to always be given to you as a percent that you convert to a decimal. And then T is always your time component, which is always going to be in years. Well, let's understand what all this is. So I wanted to give you the terminology so that you understood now the connection to, say, the real life application. What's going on here is that whether you loan somebody money, or you borrow money, or you essentially, you're loaning the bank money when you put money in the bank to save, you will or can accrue interest on that. Interest can be calculated using a simple formula. There's many ways to do calculations of interest, but in this particular section, we calculate interest using this simple interest formula, okay? What is this? Well, the amount of interest you earn is based on your principal, in other words, the amount of money you put in, or loan, or borrow. In the case of borrowing, of course, you're paying back the interest, because very few lenders will loan you money for free. That would be known as 0% interest, right? So, but in general, usually money is loaned and you pay interest on that. That money that you loan, or you take a loan out for, or that you invest in a bank account or a savings account, will earn interest at a rate that's at a certain percentage. Remember that when you convert a percent to a decimal, that you'll need to move it 2 places to the left, okay? And we'll see many of those things today. And then finally, the amount of interest earned or accrued is going to be based on how long that loan is for, or that money is sitting in the bank account, say. So it's a pretty simple thing. You earn interest based on how much you put in, the rate that it grows at, and the time the length of time that it's in there for. That's all there is to it. When it's all done, the A, also known as accumulated value, this can also be known as future value. So the accumulated, that was not needed to write it that way. Probably throw in too many letters. Accumulate. Wow, I really messed that one up. Accumulated value, A, or what the money grows to, is whatever you put in plus the interest. Or, in the case of a loan, however much money you borrowed plus the interest on that. So in the future, when you pay it back or you collect on it, depending on the position you're in, of course you're going to want the money back plus interest. And that's the basics of loans or savings. Later on in this chapter, we'll learn more complicated ways of calculating interest and earning interest, ways that are much more, they still use simple interest today for many things, but overall, there are many other ways to earn money or earn interest or accrue interest. And we'll look at those, which will come in the next sections. So, with that said, let's go answer our first problem based on that. The principal P is borrowed at a simple interest rate R for a period of time T. Isn't that exactly what we talked about? Find the simple interest owed for the use of the money. Assume 360 days in a year and round answers to the nearest cent. Okay, well, first we have to know what that is. Well, those are the criteria, those are the parameters. So if we want to figure out the interest earned on this, we can simply what? Figure out I equals P R T. I won't put the dots in. And so the amount of interest earned is based on $560 being $560 being borrowed, then a rate of 2%. Do I put 2 in here?
No.
No. Move your decimal 2 places to the left, which would be 0.02. And then the time, 2 years. That's it. Now, you're going to need your calculator for this. Because my calculator is on that phone, which is recording this, I can't do this. So you have to take ownership of this yourself to make sure you can get the right answer. So, important note, up to this point, calculators have not been critical, but at this point now, you need to have a scientific calculator. You will not be able to take your next test without one. You won't be able to do this on a phone. You'll need to do it on a scientific calculator or grab a calculator. I don't really care, so long as it's scientific or above. So make sure that you have one, you know how to use it, you're fluid and fluent with it, because you don't want to get to your test and be fumbling around with your calculator. Okay, so this is pretty simple. 560 times 0.02 times 2. Did somebody get an answer for that?
22.4.
Thank you, Adil. 22.4?
Yes.
So, what is that? What's 22.4? You got it. Good, Gideon. So, $22.40 is how much what? Interest we earn. So, or actually in this case, it's not earned, is it? It's what? It's owed, right? It's owed. Keyword owed here. Because interest doesn't only apply to putting money in the bank and saving, it applies to loans as well. And those are two main applications of interest. So $22.40. So same question, or same type of question. Let's take a look at another scenario. This time the principal is $8,000, where you borrow $8,000. The interest rate is 1.5%, and the time is 18 months. So let's take a look at this. So if we want to calculate the interest, is going to be a factor of the money borrowed, the amount borrowed, your principal, $8,000. Your rate, is the rate 1.5? It is not, hopefully not. It's 0.015. Make sure you know how to move your decimal place correctly to the left when you convert a percent to a decimal. And finally, your time, is your time 18? Is your time 18? It is not. Now, is it 1.6 or 1. What? 1.5, right? Now, if you're not sure how we got 1.5, first and foremost, understand that you cannot put 18 in there because this is what? Months. And when you're working with simple interest formulas, the time is year. So that means if you put an 18 in there, you have just now said that you've borrowed $8,000 at 1.5% for 18 years. That's not right. You borrowed it for 18 months. That's a big difference. Now, the next thing is, how do you know how to convert months to years? Well, 18 divided by 12. 12 months in a year, 18 divided by 12. And that's how several people stated that it is 1.5. Because if you do 18 divided by 12, you get 1.5. Okay? Just checking that this is still going. Good. Okay, so anybody got an answer for this?
180.
180. And of course, we now know that it's $180. That is how much interest is accrued over the term of this loan. Any questions about that at all? Okay, wonderful, very good. Now, let's take a look at this next one. So you have your samples here, your examples here. Let's go to this next problem. And this problem says, find the loan's future value. What's another word for future value? Accumulated value, right? The accumulated value is not just the interest like we calculated in the two previous problems. It's the interest plus, what's the key word? What's the P called? Principal. Accumulated or future value is the sum of principal and interest. Okay, so let's go do this. But in order to do that, we first have to figure out what? Interest, right? Just like we've done before. So in order to figure out accumulated value or future value, we still need to figure out our interest. So principal, $3,000. I'm going to put that right in here. I don't think I gave myself enough space. Let's redo this. 3,000. Rate, not 3 but 0.03. And then time, can we use 2 here?
Yeah.
Yes, because it's in years. Okay, we can use a 2 because it's in years. All right, wonderful. Does somebody have an answer for this?
180.
180, thank you. All right, now, is that the answer to this problem?
No.
It is not, because they are not interested in just the interest. They want to know, okay, in 2 years, how much needs to be paid back? Well, you don't just pay back the interest, do you? You pay back interest and principal. If you loan somebody money, you don't want them to just pay you the interest back. It's interest plus what they borrowed, right? So in order to figure out future value, we need to not only take the interest into account, but also the original amount borrowed or lended, whatever. So with that said, what was the original amount borrowed? 3,000 plus the 180, and so future value is 3,180. That's the correct answer. Any questions about that at all? Now, I want to take a moment here to teach you a formula that does both at the same time. All right? So when I say both at the same time, what I'm referring to is the fact that we had to find future value in 2 steps. This took 2 steps to do, and if we're only interested in future value, we can figure it out in 1. A, the future value is P times parentheses 1 plus R times T. So your future value A is equal to your principal times 1 plus the rate times the time.
That is kind of like saving us time, or what is that formula?
Instead of having to do it in 1 step, we substitute in here, and we're going to get the same answer. So why don't we see how that's done so that you guys can, because we're going to use this quite a bit. Okay? So with that said, instead of doing this in 2 steps, we're going to do it in 1. So A equals P times 1 plus RT. We're going to use that formula. Everybody agree? We're hopefully going to get what as the answer? Exactly. If we do this correctly, just using this formula, we'll get 3,180. Okay? So, let's go do this. Principal is still 3,000. 1 plus the rate, still 0.03. Times the time, 2. And there's your setup. Now, if you look at this, that would be 3,000 times 1 plus 0.06. Because order of operations, you would always multiply 0.03 times 2, or do the multiplication first. That's really 3,000 times 1.06. What's 3,000 times 1.06? Yes. Now, the total amount of lines of work is about the same, isn't it? So, ultimately, does it really matter? No, but you will need to know that formula for many of the last problems in this section. this is going to become obsolete. It is going to become a memory. This was only a stepping stone to get to here ultimately. Now let me ask you a question. If I said, hey, go calculate the total amount earned or loaned or accrued, the future value, and then this is all I knew, how could I figure out and go backwards and find the interest earned?
Subtract the principal.
You got it. Very good. Run your name.
Column.
Good column. And that makes sense. If I wanted to find out and I only knew this, and I knew that this was the future value, and I said, follow-up question, how much interest was accrued or earned on this? You could simply subtract the original principal of what you put in, and you get the interest. Does that make sense, guys? And you will use that very often in the rest of this section too, and the chapter. Are there any questions about that at all? Does that make sense? Now, let me just make a quick note. Is this rocket science? No, because ultimately, if you distribute the P out, this is P plus PRT. Does that look sort of familiar? A equals P plus PRT. What is PRT? It's interest. It's really actually the way you calculate interest. So isn't this ultimately saying the same thing? And that's where this formula comes from. But you don't really need to totally know that, but I just wanted to throw that out there. Okay? So anyways, there you go. Let's move on to the next problem. All right, so everybody figure out the future value for this one. Are you going to put 8 in? You are not,
No.
right? You're going to pay close attention to this right here, right? Pay close attention to that.
How many, if it's odd like that, because that's like 0.666666667, how many
Yep,
decimals do we have to go forward on?
What I would do is I would just hold that number and then work backwards from there. So for example,
Oh, so don't round it or
don't
anything?
round anything. So this is, it already came up, Gideon asked it.
That's right.
When you do 8 divided by 12, you're going to get a repeating decimal. Don't round it. Just take your answer, right? You know how you can save it? Multiply it by your rate, multiply it by your principal, and so on. Does that make sense? Okay? So, no rounding. And let's throw this out here right now. Avoid all rounding until the end of the problem. Does that make sense, guys? Do not round until you get to the end of the problem. So go ahead and keep working. I'm gonna write it in the middle here. Because I like that this one's right here as a little hint. So A equals P 1 plus RT. Your future value, A, is based on 9,000 times 1 plus your rate, 0.06, times your time, 8 over 12. All right? So how would you do this problem? Let me narrate your thought process on this. 8 divided by 12. Hit the equal sign. You're going to get a repeating decimal, right? What do you guys get for that? You remember?
0.56 is
Perfect. Hit your multiplication sign, 0.06. You guys with me so far? Hit the equal sign so you get the result of these, right? Plus sign, 1. You should get 1 point something, right? Hit the equal sign. Times 9,000. What's the result? 9,360?
50.
50. Any cents?
No, 60. I got 60.
60. Is it 60?
Yes.
Any cents?
No.
Okay, so we're good. How much interest was earned on this, by the way? $360. Good job. Let's just verify this is the correct answers. Now, quick note, guys. See how it said do not round until the final answer? If you rounded 8 over 12 to, like, say the nearest hundredth, it wouldn't have come out right. Okay, so pay close attention to that. Very, very important. Now, like I said a moment ago, it is going to become critical that you understand the big formula here that combines the two. This is the backbone, really. This is the key one. The other ones were just stepping stones. That's the foundation of this section, is really understanding how to use that formula. Well, let's take a look here. This problem says the principal P is borrowed and the loan's future value is given at time T. This is the first time they've given you this, isn't it? It looks like we're missing what? What are we missing? The interest rate. But that's what they're looking for. So how do we do this? Well, just put in the pieces and let's go solve it. They tell you that the future value is 9,810. They tell you that the principal is 9,000. 1 plus, do we know the interest rate? No. Do we know the time? 1. So, that is how you set it up. That's why I said you have to know this formula and how to work it. Because if you don't, it's a little bit harder to do it using this one. So, this is just an algebra problem to solve, isn't it? Let's go solve it. First and foremost, this is 9,810 equals 9,000, 1 plus r. How did I get 1 plus r there?
Because you have one and more.
Yes, because r times a 1 is r. Now, if that was a 2, if this problem was 2 years, it'd be 1 plus 2r, or whatever it happened to be. Does that make sense, guys? Okay, so now, in algebra, in order to get to these parentheses, this 9,000 is being multiplied. We would divide the 9,000 from both sides so we can get rid of it. Because remember, the goal is to solve for r in this case. In another problem, we might solve for t or p or whatever it happens to be. But right now, if your algebra skills are rusty, you've got to sharpen them. You've got to take good notes and remember how to execute it. So with that said, what's 9,810 divided by 9,000? 1.01, is that right?
9.
9. Is that clean or is that rounded? Okay, perfect. So 1.09. Now, how come it just ended up as 1 plus r on this side? Because the 9,000s cancel, right? That's the whole point of it, isn't it? And if you're a little bit rusty with that, you got to sharpen your algebra skills here. How do we get r by itself and answer their question?
Divide yourself by one.
Not divide, but
Multiply.
not multiply. 1 is being added to r, so we would, exactly, we subtract 1 from both sides. Okay? You only divide if it's being multiplied. Does that make sense, guys? Okay, so be careful with that. So r is equal to 0.09. Is the answer 0.09? What is it?
9%.
9%. Because that's the decimal 2 to the right now to go back to your percentage. So 9% is the answer. Does that make sense, guys? Any questions about that at all? Please ask.
Where'd you get the 1.09?
9,810 divided by 9,000. Any other questions about this problem?
Did mine along with yours, and I still got one.
What were your numbers?
Well, mine's, it's 3,000, is P, A is 3,225, and T is 1.
Okay.
And everything was the same up there as far as like the steps went. But I got 1.07 minus 1, and then 1 plus R minus 1. I put 0.7.
Whoa, you said 1.07, then minus 1, and then I heard you say 0.7. Your answer should be,
0.07.
which should be what as your
7%.
7%? That's not right? Sure. Now, you said 3,000 was your principal, 32 something was this. Did you do 32 whatever divided by 3,000? And what was 32 something divided by 3,000? Why don't you redo that, double check your numbers.
Oh, that's my,
You made a mistake there?
yeah.
Okay, there you go, that's it. It sounded like your work was right. This is pretty much the only spot that I questioned maybe resulted in you got maybe an incorrect number of days. Okay, good. Any other questions All right, wonderful. Let's keep rolling. Here we go. So here's another one where they don't give you a standard problem to go find the future value. They give you principal, future value, and time. Why don't we go do this one? Actually, you know what? I don't really want to do this one. I want to do one where we find a different variable. So let's not do that. Here's another one with time. There we go. This is what I'm looking for. Because the bottom line is, all the ones where you find R, they're going to be pretty much the same. Okay? So you're just going to follow that. So let's take a look at this one. Okay? They give you the future value, they give you the rate, they give you the time. What are we going to be looking for?
Principal.
Principal, right? So there you go. So let's go take a look at this. Let's set up the formula. A equals P times 1 plus RT. So they tell you your future value is 4,000. They don't tell you your principal, but they do tell you your rate, not 7, but 0.07. They tell you your time. Since that's in years, we don't have to convert it. That's good. So there's your setup. This is actually a super easy problem. It's really, really easy, and you'll see in a moment here. So, what should we calculate first here? What should we calculate first?
0.073.
Exactly. Got to do the parentheses, got to do the multiplication in there. So, what's 0.07 times 3? 0.21. All right, so here we go. 4,000 equals P times 1 plus 0.21. So that should be your first step. Then, moving forward, what should we do next?
Multiply or add.
Add, exactly. We should add these and finish off the work in the parentheses. So 4,000 equals P times what? 1.21. Now, P is being what with 1.21? Are they being added, subtracted, multiplied, or divided? They're being multiplied. So if I want to solve for P, how do I get P by itself since these are being multiplied? Divide, exactly. You'd only subtract if it was being added to that P. So we divide because it's being multiplied. Okay? And so now, does somebody have an answer for the principal?
3305.785.
3305.785? So that means it would be
886.
7.9.
7.9.
7.9.
Yeah, if we round to the nearest cent.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Wonderful. Thank you, Dill. So there it is. Let's check to see if that's okay. It looks pretty good. 3305.79. Oops. That's it. Quick question. If I wanted to find out how much interest was earned, what would I have to do?
Subtract 4,000.
Subtract what?
330.
From 4,000. Exactly. Does that make sense, guys? Excellent work. Okay, let's keep going. All right. This is another one, and of the same problem, right? Future value given, rate, time. Not going to do that one. You guys can handle that, no problem. Future value, rate, and time. How about we just do one real quick where it's months? Okay, just in case if you were shaky with it. So let's take a look at this, and let's do this because so far we've only seen a couple months problems. And I just want to make sure you guys are in good shape there. So, they give you your future value. They give you your rate. They give you your time. Now, this is I just want to make a note here. They say determine the present value, which is also known as principal, right? Present is what you're putting in right now in the present. You must invest to have a future value. So, in other words, instead of talking about loans and loans and loans, they want you to understand that it's just, and I've said this before earlier today, it's not just all about taking out a loan, right? You can invest stuff too, right? You go, hey, I have a goal of one day having $9,000 in 9 months. So in 9 months, I want $9,000. I found a way to earn that money at 12%. Not happening, but you've somehow found a way to earn at 12%. How much do I have to put in right now? That's a real life scenario. So let's go put in the pieces. 9,000 goes for A. We don't know the principal. 1 plus the rate, which is 0.12, is T9.
No.
No. What do we put here? 9 divided by 12. Good job, because you must make the conversion. It is not 9. You're not investing your money for 9 years. Your answer will be very wrong if you put a 9 here. Okay? So, what is 9 over 12 when we go and clean that up? 0.75, right? So if you go do 9 divided by 12, you get 0.75. It's excellent. Now, does this look like a very similar problem to what we just did? Sure it does. So you should go first do, what's 0.12 times 0.75? 0.09. Excellent. Thank you guys. Then what's next?
What's the one?
Plus the 1. 1.09. Then what's next?
Minus, or divide?
Divide. Very good. Good catching yourself, Cassie. That was good. Because 1.09 is not being added or subtracted, right? It's being multiplied. So therefore, how much must we put in right now so that we will, in 9 months, have $9,000 given an account that pays 12%? How much?
8,256.88.
All right. Did you round that, Cassie,
No.
properly? It was exact? Oh, great.
Yeah,
Okay.
I did zero after it, so.
Okay. Wonderful. That looks good. Does that make sense, guys? Fantastic work. All right. Now let's take a look here. Here's just a basic application of everything that we've been doing. So the only difference here is just they're stating all these things in a sentence. Let's see the connection. In order to start a small business, a student takes out a simple interest loan for $4,000. That $4,000, what is that? If you take out the loan for $4,000, what is that? Which variable is that? It's your principal. So, as you're reading your problem, take careful notes. The amount that you borrow, the amount that you invest to start, that's always your principal. Okay? For 3 months, what's 3 months? That's your?
3.
No. Careful. Time. There you go. So your time is 3 months. Make a note that it's 3 months because we're going to need to do what with that? We're going to have to, what do we do with the 3 months in a bit?
We're gonna divide by 12.
Yes, we're going to have to divide that by 12. Why don't we just do that now? And so that's 0.25, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, and then at a rate of 8.75, that's your rate, 8.75%. But are you going to put 8.75 in?
No.
0.0875, because you now understand you need to move that decimal 2 to the left. Everybody got that? Are we okay? Now, do we know how to figure out how much the interest the student must pay?
Well, the rate of principal.
Exactly. PRT. There's the interest, isn't it? Do you know how to figure out the future value? Do what? P plus I. Do you guys need to see that? Are we okay? Should be pretty easy, right? If we want to figure out how much interest, multiply all these together. That's going to tell us the interest, right? If we need to figure out the future value, just take that, add it to the original. Or, what else could we do? Use this formula and answer part B first, right? Won't this formula tell us right away what the future value is? Then subtract the principal and you'll know your interest. Everybody understand that? I'm not going to do it. It's pretty straightforward. Okay? So that was really good. Let's take a look at this one. If you borrow $3,000 from a friend and promise to pay back $4,200 in 2 years, what simple interest rate to the nearest tenth of a percent will you pay? Is this something we've done before? Let's go set this up. Okay? Let's go set this up. Are they asking for future value in this problem? Are they? Let's work this out. What's the 3,000? Yes. What's the 3,000?
As, percent.
It's your principal. What's the 4,200? Yep.
A.
It's your A. You're going to pay back. When you pay something back, what do you pay back?
That's
The principal, the amount you borrowed, plus
the interest.
the interest. So that's A. What's 2 years?
T.
Your T. So what are we looking for?
Rate.
That's exactly what they say. Let's go set it up. So, using our formula, A equals P times 1 plus RT. What is A? Accumulated value, 4,200. What's P? Principal, 3,000. 1 plus, what's the rate? Do we know it?
No.
What's the time?
2.
2. Have we done a problem like this already? Yeah, sure we have.
Yes, it is.
Right here. Does that make sense? And you could go solve that using this. Now you have all the tools to be successful. Everybody got that? So this is an excellent starting section. Next class, we will actually probably go to compound interest. The likelihood is I thought I was going to go to 8.1 and 8.2 after this one, but to kind of stay on the trend or the path of interest, I'm going to probably do 8.3, 8.4, 8.5, and then at the very end roll back to 8.1 and 8.2. Does that make sense, guys? Excellent, wonderful.